Sean "Diddy" Combs, the music mogul known for producing some of the biggest artists in modern history, is facing 3 federal criminal charges in what is expected to be an 8-week-long trial in Manhattan, New York. Here's what you need to know about the case. Last year, prosecutors arrested and charged Combs with sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, and racketeering conspiracy.
What if the glitz, glamour, and red carpets hid the darkest secrets of a pop icon's life? What if behind every smile was a silent scream, behind every hit song a horrifying story untold? This is not a movie. This is the real-life horror that Cassie Ventura, once the rising R&B star and partner of Sean "Diddy" Combs, lived through 4 years. Her voice was silenced by fear. But today, she speaks. And the world is finally listening. In the early 2000s, Cassie Ventura was introduced to the world as Diddy's protege, a beautiful young artist with talent and charm. But beneath the industry spotlight, a nightmare was unfolding. At just 22, Cassie said she was introduced to the twisted concept of freak-offs. These were not just parties. They were drug-fueled, sexually degrading rituals orchestrated by Diddy, involving male escorts, cameras, and control. According to Cassie's court testimony, these were expected weekly, and refusing wasn't an option. Despite the chaos, Cassie tried to maintain a sense of normalcy in public. She smiled at award shows. She posed for photos, but behind closed doors, she says she was trapped, manipulated, and monitored at every turn. Her phone checked, her friends chosen, her voice silenced. Over time, what started as a glamorous romance turned into a brutal pattern of possession and paranoia. She wasn't just his girlfriend, she was his property. Cassie recalled moments when she tried to break away, when her instincts screamed for freedom, but each attempt was met with threats or guilt. Diddy allegedly dangled her career, her safety, even her family, over her head like a blade. Once, when she questioned his demands, she claims he grabbed her by the neck and threw her across the room. "I thought he was going to kill me," she whispered during the deposition. And yet, she stayed. Because leaving wasn't just hard, it felt impossible. In 2018, after years of enduring what she called a life of fear, Cassie began to distance herself. She reconnected with herself, with therapy, and eventually with someone who truly loved her. But even then, Diddy wouldn't let go. According to her testimony, he broke into her apartment uninvited. He raped her that night, cold, calculated, as if to remind her that no matter where she went, he still owned her body and her fear. That night became a turning point. Cassie decided to speak, not just for herself, but for every woman who had been manipulated into silence. She filed a lawsuit in 2023. Within 24 hours, Diddy paid $20 million to settle. But it wasn't over, because silence bought is not justice served. Cassie's bravery opened the floodgates for other victims, former employees, background dancers, even industry insiders. One by one, they began to speak. And suddenly, the music industry had no choice but to listen. In court, she described moments so traumatic that the entire room fell silent. Jurors averted their eyes as graphic images showing Cassie covered in baby oil with another man were displayed. These weren't just photos. They were evidence of how her body was used for someone else's pleasure, without love, without safety, without consent. She testified that Diddy would force his way into her life, even long after their relationship had ended. In August 2018, Cassie said, he showed up at her home uninvited and raped her on the living room floor. At the time, she had just started dating her now husband, Alex Fine. She described Diddy's eyes as black, a chilling description she repeated throughout the trial to capture his rage. It didn't end there. Cassie shared how Diddy allegedly beat her after she went to a
They claim
Prince
Combs
party.
coerced women into his orbit, controlling their lives with violence, financial payments, and supplying them with drugs. Combs allegedly forced women into freak-offs. These were highly orchestrated sex performances that could sometimes last for days and often included commercial sex workers. Prosecutors say Combs occasionally recorded them, sometimes without victims' consent, and
without telling him. He tracked her down, barged into her hotel room, and hurled luggage at her while calling her every degrading name imaginable. She claimed he urinated on her. She claimed he forced sexual activity even when she was menstruating against her will. She claimed he controlled what she wore, how she looked, who she saw, and how she felt about herself, and yet she stayed. Why? Because the abuse wasn't just physical. It was emotional, psychological. He allegedly broke her down to the point where she tried to walk into traffic, ready to end her life, if not for the man who would later become her husband, who stopped her that night. Cassie's story isn't just about a relationship gone wrong, it's about a man with unchecked power and a system that enabled him. She described how people around Diddy saw everything, the bruises, the breakdowns, the silence, and yet, they turned away. His entourage, his team, even industry executives. No one intervened. No one asked questions. Fame had become a Cassie Just another casualty behind the glittering facade. She explained how Diddy's manipulation evolved. Some days, he'd shower her with expensive gifts, praise her beauty, tell her she was the only one. Other days, he would isolate her, scream at her for hours, force her to replay her trauma like it was a punishment. The cycle of love bombing and torment blurred her reality. Cassie admitted she began to believe maybe this was normal. Maybe she deserved it. That's how deep the emotional cage had been built around her. But healing doesn't start with freedom, it starts with truth. And for Cassie, truth came like a slow, painful wave. She said it wasn't until she saw other women being treated the same way that she realized this wasn't love, this was control. She started journaling her pain, saving voice recordings, quietly documenting what she could. She didn't just want to escape, she wanted to make sure no other girl went through what she did. And when she finally walked away, it wasn't with rage, it was with resolve. She got married. She became a mother. She rebuilt herself from the ground up. And then, she told her story to the world. Not to shame, not to sensationalize, but to warn, to heal, to give voice to every woman still stuck in the shadows, too scared to speak. Cassie's strength is no longer in surviving Didiots and defying him. After years of trauma and silence, in 2023, Cassie sued Diddy on within 24 hours. He settled the case for $20 million. That could have been the end. But Cassie wasn't done. She stood up and said, I can't carry this
then used them for his own pleasure. To maintain this behavior, prosecutors say Combs led a criminal enterprise made up of his assistants, security staff, and others, who enabled him and covered up his actions. Combs has denied all wrongdoing and pleaded not guilty to the charges. His lawyers have defended him, saying everything was consensual. A jury of 12 will ultimately decide his fate. If convicted, Combs could be in prison for the rest of his life.
What's wrong is wrong. And now, in 2025, she is the government's star witness in Diddy's sex trafficking trial. A trial that could finally expose a two-decade web of abuse, coercion, and unchecked power. Federal authorities say Diddy ran an empire of money, fame, and threats to force victims into sexual acts from 2004 to 2024. And Cassie, she was at the center of it all. Her testimony has opened the gates. Another woman, known as Mia, a former employee of Diddy, has come forward. Her lawyer told the court she would have taken these secrets to her grave. More stories are coming, more victims may rise. And Diddy, he continues to deny every single accusation. This isn't just about one woman's trauma. This is about an entire system that rewards silence and punishes truth. Cassie Ventura's courage is cracking. That system opened one word, one tear, one truth at a time. If you've ever felt unheard, unseen, or unsafe, know this, you're not alone. Cassie's story is a painful reminder that even behind the brightest smiles, the darkest battles are fought. But silence ends here. If you or someone you know is a victim of abuse, reach out, speak up, your voice matters. Drop your thoughts below. Should Diddy be held accountable? Is the music industry finally ready to face its shadows? Subscribe for real, raw stories that the mainstream media tries to silence.